Hello, my name is Sam Stecher, and I used to be a school administrator. My very first job in school administration was as a dean of students at a high school, and this was nothing like being Dean Wormer in Animal House. There was no double secret probation. To be honest, when I got the job, I did not know what a dean of students was. I later found out it's just an assistant principal that does all of the jobs the assistant principal doesn't want to do and gets a paycheck that is 30% smaller for that work. One of the jobs that I was tasked with that the AP didn't want to do was to try to make sure that our students didn't punch each other. And for some reason, a spot where they like to punch each other was what I called the intersection of locker room and 300. So frequently, I would station myself where the 300 hallway and the locker room hallway met in order to mitigate the likelihood of a pugilistic event. There just so happened to be a drinking fountain there, and I don't know why, but one day when a student went walking by, I said, "Hey, could I interest you in some hydration?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "Could I interest you in some hydration?" He says, "I don't get it." And I said, "I just went to this educator's brain research conference, and there I learned that hydrated brains learn better than dehydrated brains. On top of that, your parents' tax dollars have already paid for all this water. Could I interest you in some hydration?" And he said, "Yeah, I guess." So he walks up to the drinking fountain, and he goes to reach, and I say, "Oh, no, allow me, I got this." And I push the button for him. My favorite part about this is that people don't know what to do with their hands. So he goes. And as he's getting a drink, another kid comes walking by, and he's like, "What's going on?" And the kid getting the drink goes, "Mr. Stecher is giving out free drinks today." And the next kid was like, "You got me?" I was like, "I got you too. Line up." Before I knew it, I had a line of 30 students, all waiting for me to push the button down on the drinking fountain as students walked by. I think I set a record for the number of tardies to the next class period. Who was pissed? That's right, the assistant principal, because he didn't like dealing with tardies. But this thing became my thing. If I saw a drinking fountain, I was pushing the button down. This weird, quirky, random act of kindness, I did it all the time, so much so that our school nurse accosted me and said, "Sam, are you aware that statistically there are more germs in our drinking fountains than our toilets?" And I was like, "School nurse, I'm not liking your vibe. Number one, it sounds like you're bad-mouthing our custodial staff, and I'll not have that. Number two, I'm not going to change up my game and stand in the stall with a ladle next to the toilet, even if it's true. That sounds gross. Number three, our students are already getting the drinks and the germs. How about they get the drinks and the germs and this weird, quirky act of kindness from the dean of students?" Now, I will say when I do this in a school setting, I get like 90% participation. They almost all line up. When I do it in the real world with you civilians, it's more like 30%, and law enforcement has asked me twice what my intentions were. But doing this weird, quirky act of kindness made me question how I applied kindness in my own life. I don't know why we are so quick to pair the word random with kindness. I believe that kindness is an essential and radical force. I think it can do more good than anything else in the world, and I want us to be intentional, purposeful, consistent. I want us to take random out of random act of kindness. I can think of nothing we hope to do good that we want to apply randomly and get good results from. For example, let's just say you practice random acts of dental hygiene. How do you think your visit would go with this cat? Not super great. So in order to take the random out of random acts of kindness, I started to think, and I started to write, and I started to create, and I started to post, and I started to come up with different ideas where people could engage with kindness intentionally, purposely, consistently, on the reg, all the time. And I tell people, if you will take 2 minutes to listen, and another 2 minutes to pick somebody to engage with on a weekly basis, you're going to elevate the level of kindness where you're at, and that's going to make a difference. But forget about the 2 minutes. Let's run through 8 really quick here. So next week, pick one of these and do it before time runs out. Ask somebody next week, what's been the best part of your day? Or next week, make sure you tell somebody who needs to hear it, "Hey, I've got your back." Or ask somebody next week, "Hey, I need to know, when is it that you are at your best so I can make it happen more often?" Ask somebody next week, what's the best advice you've ever been given? Ask somebody, what's your theme song? What do you want to hear when you roll up in this joint? Make sure that you tell at least one person next week what you do is important. Or maybe there was a thank you should have given that you didn't. Send that overdue thank you note because it's never too late. Or, and this is my favorite one because this is the anti-gossip. Next week, take the opportunity to say something good about someone even though they're not around to hear it. And I know I've been saying next week the whole time that I've been up here on this slide. Don't do it next week. When you roll out of the Rococo, pick somebody here and say, "Hey, I want you to know what you do is important," because I'm hearing a whole lot of voices tonight about what is important. And if we can all do this, if we all take the random out of kindness, kindness will no longer be random. Kindness will rule. Thank you so much.